Greetings from Solitude Springs Farm. It is August 16th, 2015, and we're going to start our summer tour of the farm. It's actually a little bit late in the summer, so things will have already started turning colors, but it's as soon as I can get to it this year. We'll show you a few of the things that we've been doing as far as land clearing and some of the plants that we've got in the ground now, and we'll do a tour of the bramblery with my overgrown wild treasure, and then we'll wrap it up with looking at some of the grapes that have started to turn colors for getting ready for the fall in pots. So here's the area above the house. And there's Chica in the middle of the picture. We're going to put in trees here, turn this into a food forest, and then over here is where we cleared a number of years ago, and it's growing back in aspen, and we will be thinning those saplings out and putting trees in there as well. The saplings actually keep the grass down. It can get pretty high, and so that will help compete with the grass until the trees get established, and then they'll compete with the grass. In this area, I'm hoping to put a row of walnut trees and heartnut trees along the top there. The white tank in the middle of the field there is just below the upper road, and so we're not too far off the road here, but it does give us enough area to try and experiment with the food forest. Mostly trees and berries over here. Next we'll go to where the grape house was and show you our new view. So we're standing where the grape house was, looking down the hill, showing much of the area that's been cleared now. Most of the area that was had been cleared in our previous pictures and in the picture now. And so now, if I pan over here, this shows you how much more we've taken down. And that will be turned into a pond at the bottom, and just above the pond will be our grapevines. The surface down there will be, the slope will be a little bit steeper because we're going to need to go down to bedrock to get the pond base put in. And so we're going to have a little bit steeper slope for the grapevines, which should give them a little more heat, and then we'll above that we'll put in some more peonies and other bushes. Towards this direction on the west side of the property we'll have actually I'm not sure what we're going to put in there. That's shaded part of the day, so it wouldn't be good for peonies, which need sun all day, but we do have some other shade tolerant plants that we'll probably put in there. And looking over this direction, this is looking up the lot to the area that's been cleared and terraced, and the road's right below the trees along the top there. Our lawn ornament, and then behind that is my neighbor's dozer that actually does work. So anyway, this is the area down here, and we've got lots of room now to plant things. Most of this we put into peonies. We've got some peonies up towards the pickup up there, about 260 put in at this point, and then we've got raspberries off to the far end there. You might be able to just see some green sticking out in the brown up there along the terraces. Those are our raspberries that we're starting, and we'll get some more in next spring, hopefully. Get about 600 or 700 feet of raspberries for a U-pick. So then what we'll do next is we'll go up to the bramblery, and I'll show you what has and hasn't grown this year. Okay, so we're up here at the bramblery. You can see some green, lots of grass. We'll hopefully get onto that next year. Just not enough time. But most of it's, most of the green stuff, like these two things here, are actually Doyle's thornless. We didn't have any survival over the winter of canes, but these things have been slow to get started. They're about, I think this is our third year. The one closest to me here has a cane that's approaching 7 feet at this point, so there's a possibility that we'll get some to overwinter. Not sure if they're going to be early enough. But anyway, you can see lots of the area that we do have a few that made it through the winter, but we also lost a few more. And then of course about 3 weeks ago, I guess, the resident porcupine came through and decided he was going to chew on some blackberries, and so we have some damage from that. Got our fence put back up, and so far it's keeping him out, but it won't do much to deter the moose, who will come in and clean out everything. So next we'll go inside and I'll show you some of the amazing growth on the wild treasure. Okay, so here we see our sylvans. They were really late to come out this year, so they're still pretty small. Only about 2 foot long cane there. Again, here's the Doyle's thornless. It took them for what I thought was forever to get started, but they're actually going pretty good now. We'll see how they survive the winter. Next up we have what's left of some Navajos that I think will be dead after this year. They're just not, it's being September or August 15th, they're not in any hurry to grow. So I don't think they're going to make much progress this summer to live over the winter. And so here's our tayberry, this usually sprawling thing. It actually is spreading underground quite a bit too. So I mean, I've got one out here and some over here. It just kind of keeps spreading and spreading, but I did manage to get it to propagate this year, so we might try with a lot of protection. It might be a decent thing to grow up here. Then over here we've got a Loch Ness, which is a late season blackberry. I just put it in just for trials, just like the others, and it's not growing too great either this year. Over here we have the remaining Triple Crown. One. And the reason I know it's a Triple Crown because Chester doesn't grow like this. It's generally very slow growing. And we might have a wasp underneath the... Nope. Anyway, these are a little bit more vigorous than the Chesters, but they still don't survive the winter for the most part. Here is where we had planted our... See over there, you can't see anything because there's nothing up. And someplace in this mess of grass is what's left of the hulls that we planted a couple years ago. They went gangbusters last year and they never came back this year. So another failure for this area. Here is this poor Darrow. I got this thing a couple of years ago from an online company, and it came out of about, I think, 4 or 5 that I ordered. This was the only one that was even remotely viable. It was dried out. Put it in the ground. The first year it almost did nothing. Last year it did a little bit more, and this year it's actually got a little bit of growth on it. It's about almost a foot high. Taking forever. This is supposed to be one of the hardiest of the erects, so we'll see how it does. We're probably going to treat this one with wilt stop this year. After another person on a discussion board said that really helped hers. Of course, she's only zone 4, so that's going to be interesting. Here's what's left of our Chester. As you can see, it's very, very small. Probably won't even come back next year. And what is amazing is, well, we'll get to the really amazing part, but this is pretty amazing. These are Arapahoes that survived 2 years in 1-gallon pots in the ground. And I've got another one farther over. I'm not going to show you, but this one, these just keep coming back. They die to the ground every year and keep coming back. So it's possible. Down here we have Siskiyous, which are a little bit less than happy looking. They got mowed back by the porcupine. They're trying to sprout out some more leaves. In a really good season, which this year's been warm and somewhat dry, but they usually grow a lot longer than this. So this one, I think last fall was really hard on all these things being so long with cold, dry temperatures and no snow cover. I think it really damaged the crowns of these things. Here we have Marion, and this thing is a little bit rampant too. It stretches out probably about 8 feet that direction, 10 feet that direction. It's a little bit, one of the two that I've got here is like this. And I tasted the first berry off of this about, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago. Tasted pretty good, but it's having some trouble. The weather's been a little bit cooler than it likes, I think, and so it's been a little bit sluggish to ripen the berries, but it's got a lot of them on it. And that's just from 3 canes. Actually, 1 cane and 3 basal laterals off that 1 cane is producing probably, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 berries. So, since it's August 15th, these berries have been around since probably the 25th of June. I'm not expecting them to ripen before the first frost, unfortunately, but I can cut a lot of the laterals off, probably get them to ripen inside for a fairly decent taste. And of course, here is the surprise of the year. Who says that Marion doesn't spread? It's crown forming, everybody says. Well, I've got 3 babies off of this real small one right here in the middle. There's the one that's supposed to be there. That one, and that one are not supposed to be there. Over here we have our thornless loganberries. And I've gotten 1 off of this thing. Actually, this year I think I tasted one. They're pretty tart. And I'm looking for something a little bit sweeter, but yeah, and this berry right here has been eaten. Wasps got to most things this year. An overabundance of them. And then here are 2 of our Stenulsons that we got from Woodstock Nursery. As you can see, they are spreading out slowly. One's always been a little bit more yellow than the other, regardless of how I fertilize them, so I don't know what the deal is with that. There's actually selections from the wild, so there's probably quite a bit of genetic variability in them. This one here has a little bit of trouble with leaves on it. I don't know if it's been girdled at the bottom or something. It looks like it's suffering from lack of water, but it's not. It's been raining fairly steadily the last several days as far as enough water for everything. And then we have our black diamond, which is late to flower. We've got some berries here that are coming out. They probably won't ripen before the frost. And then we have some over here that might ripen before the frost if we can get enough heat for it. And we've got some that are flowering. It's vigorous, not very, but what the problem happened this year was that the canes survived out. I mean, it's about 2 to 3 feet away from the crown. They survived out that far, and then we had a frost, and they were under row cover, and they started to leaf out, and the frost hit, and it zapped them back. So then we had to have secondary buds pop out, I think, because it was some time before they actually started growing again, whereas Wild Treasure just kept going. So back here, this is another little interesting thing. This is what's left of a black satin, which I got from the same company as Darrow, and this thing isn't very happy, although it looks like we have another one coming up there. Yep. That's a sucker off the root. And this is all the taller it got last year. I mean, this thing's like 6 inches tall, but it keeps coming back. So that's the thing. I mean, that's why I'm amazed that the hull didn't come back. It grew so well last year. This one and this one here are Eleni Hardy. They flower the 1st of September, so they're kind of pointless to even have in here, but interesting to look at. I have some Washita there, and then I think the rest of the stuff's dead up there. And then this is one of our 2 oldest Wild Treasures here, and I'm going to go around the front to show you what these things look like. I put them up on a trellis this year of sorts, just a double wire trellis, thin gauge wire, and they started growing so rampantly that I tried to tie them up, and I'm not even sure you can see this, but I've got canes that are, 6, 7 feet long and this one is the smallest of the 2 plants. It hasn't grown that well. It's still getting established. It's only year 3 for this one. And these things take about 4 years before they really start to get going. Like this one, which is my monstrosity here. So we've got canes. I'm going to try and get these canes right here so you can see kind of what it looks like here. If it'll stay. I need to tie these up. They're supposed to be like Mickey Mouse ears, but I haven't gotten them in the loops yet. So there's one loop on that side. Those canes are over 10 feet long on that side. And then there's another loop over here that comes up and down. And those are probably about 8 or 9 feet long. And then I've got berries in the middle here. Some of the flowers didn't pollinate very well during part of the season, so I've got a lot of failed berries, but failed flowers. But we have a clump down here, which looks quite nice. You can see, and this is just one. This is one basolateral. That you can see there's probably, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. There's almost 30 berries on just that one cluster right there. And they're quite tasty when they ripen on the vine. So we got, I picked a couple off here. That one's been eaten by wasps. That one's been eaten by wasps. Yeah. I was kind of hoping I'd get a lot to taste this year, but the wasps just beat me to it. I can't get out here in the daytime to pick them. So, but anyway, we're going to try and protect this monstrosity this year, and using some wilt block or wilt proof sprayed on it. It's a pine resin stuff, and we'll also cover them. We're going to leave the weed block down, which is fantastic. I mean, there's grass around it, no grass anywhere near the base of the plant, because this thing is probably got enough roots on it to just about crowd anything out. But the nice thing about Wild Treasure is it's thornless, more than about 18 inches away from the base. So this one, I can feel some, I mean, they're not even thorny really. I mean, they're just like teeny tiny prickles on the very base of that cane there. And the rest of it is completely thornless. So you're out here picking, well, I say thornless, but the leaves have some thorns on the bottom of them that can get you occasionally. But most of these are pretty much benign. So it's a very nice plant to have for picking. You're not drawing blood when you're trying to pick your berries. But anyway, this is the huge Wild Treasure that we've got here. And I think part of that is because of the weed block that we grow it over. That helps provide heat for it, and it keeps the weeds at bay. And so it has a very little competition. So if we can get more of these canes to survive, we'll get a lot more berries next year. We will try again with the row cover to see if we can get to leaf out like we did this year, a little bit earlier than it had before. This year I pulled the first berry, gosh, a week and a half ago. So around the 7th of August, I think the first berry was ripe. That's about 14 days before last year's. It has been a little bit warmer this year, but I think a lot of that was that we got the leaves out a little bit earlier this year. So I'm going to try that next year and see what happens, and maybe we can get, you know, a couple of pounds of berries if we can beat the wasps to them. Hopefully they won't be bad next year, and we'll get all the berries off it. So next we're going to go to our collection of potted plants, show you a few cherries that ripened up this year, and then we'll go out to the terraces briefly and kind of look over the peonies and the raspberries, and that'll wrap it up. Okay, so I just wanted to say we have declared the raspberry patch to be officially overgrown, at least where we were growing all of our trials. The only thing that really is going to take off up there is my fall gold, which is spread to, you know, out 20-30 feet from the original 3 plants. It's popping up all over. So that may turn into a fall gold patch up there. But we kind of gave up on it this year. We've had so much stuff to do that we really haven't been able to get in there and mow the grass back and put some weed block down. So anyway, we'll go ahead on to here where we've got our nursery of sorts. We grabbed some coral peonies from Fred's for about 10 bucks a piece, and we have a mixture of flowering plants, and we got some blueberries in there and lots of kiwi. Still trying to find a male that will actually winter over up here. And then we've got a few apple trees that we bought this year on sale. an apparently dead American mountain ash tree, which I was kind of hoping for. So anyway, then we've got service berries, a collection of smaller potted things like we've got some Mongolian cherries and raspberries, and then over here we've got more apple and Adirondack Gold from St. Lawrence Nursery, which flowers very early and then doesn't produce anything, so we'll figure out what's wrong with that one. We've got European mountain ash with some red berries on it this year. They're orange, turning red. Nice color. And here is a nice surprise for us. These are North Star cherries. Not too big, but, and that one's cracking, so I probably should pick it. It's cracking probably because of all the water that's been on it. But if I don't pick it, the wasps will get it. So anyway, other than that, we've got more flowers, more service berries. We have lots of Regent service berries, which is so much my favorite type. I think they just taste a whole lot better than the other kinds that are out there, but that's my preference. Let's see, so we've also got, oh my gosh, peonies. And then we'll go over here to more. Just kind of want to give you guys an idea. I've been collecting forever and not able to get it in the ground, and now it's going to take me forever to get them in the ground. I've got, this is a, I can't remember, it is a walnut, but it's from Asia. I can't remember. A friend of mine gave that as a seed to me, and it sprouted this year. The other ones that I got last year from that same type did not overwinter. So interesting. His did, but mine didn't. And then these are my butternuts that I got from an online nursery I won't mention because most people don't approve of it. So anyway, over here we've got grapes mixed in. We've got some aronia here. We've got a few aronia berries on there that I can't wait until they're ripe because I think they're just wonderful tasting. So let's see, grapes over here. And yes, they are yellowish because I didn't give them any potassium this year. And so they are suffering pretty bad. Although now they're starting to go dormant. So some of these, like this is a Valiant here. Actually, there's about 4 or 5 Valiants in here. And there's not much evidence this year yet of hardening off. It is turning yellow at the base, but I think this is going to be a late year, probably because I didn't have it in the hoop house to give it the heat to grow. This here is, I believe, a Vanessa, which actually does start to harden off quite well early on, and so that's a yellow cane there, turned from green to yellow. It's getting ready to turn woody. And then we'll go over, oh, these are my beautiful, I'm surprised at these because these are lilies that I thought I had lost, and they are just the most gorgeous tiger lilies. Yellow, oops, maybe if I point the camera at them. So yellow tiger lilies, they're always late to flower up here. They always flower late in the summer, but everything else is kind of winding down, so you kind of want something to flower late. We've got sea berries in there. We have currants. Over here is some more currants. We have a couple of trays of blackberries that need to go on the ground. Those are wild treasures here, black diamonds there. Yep, and then of course, what's left over from the plant sale this year, we will not be planting nearly as many seeds next year. We had too much left over. And then of course the lavender, oh my gosh, I love this stuff. The smell to me, the fragrance of this stuff is just phenomenal. I've got, this is Munstead here, and then I have another spot that actually has a sweeter smell to it. And the other stuff is actually wintered over. I don't know if this will, but this stuff was super cheap. Came out as these little teeny tiny things that looked completely dead when I got them through in the mail, and man, they have just taken off this year, and they're flowering and look fantastic. Some seaberry seedlings that I lost some of because I let them get too dry this summer. We have silverberries here, which I'm going to plant out as nitrogen fixers. Lots of dead, what are those? Those are blackberries. They are the kind I do not like. They are obsidian. Yeah, they just don't overwinter here. Don't do well. So then we're getting back into some more grapes, and these are the Amarensis grapes here. I've got one right here. Let me see if I can just focus on it this time when I'm talking about it. This is amaranthus. It starts turning leaves. The leaves start turning red very early. Trees, actually I think this year, the leaves started turning on this thing about a week and a half ago. And some of these other amaranthus, like this one right here, this one's been red for since late July. So they really start to shut down early. They don't necessarily harden off all that well, but they start shutting down pretty early. These are still small because the voles got to them this year. And mowed them back. And then on my poor Metolius, this is the second summer for them to be in these poor pots. And I'm surprised, but that just tells me that I think they're going to make it. Whereas the obsidian didn't. Metolius is a pretty early ripening variety from Oregon. It's a trailing variety, thorny though, so it's not. That's kind of something you don't necessarily want unless the thorns aren't too bad, and these feel a little prickly, so not sure how they're going to work. Other than that, I've got some phlox right here that I've had for a couple of years and finally flowered this year. And then, of course, from the plant sale, we inherited a tomatillo, husk tomato, a couple of them from a guy that I sell plants to, and he brings me a couple of his. So we're just going to see how they did up here. They never went in the ground. They're still in 3-inch pots. So if they do anything, it's a miracle. Maybe I should have named it the Miracle Farm. Then I have over here some seedlings of apple. They're actually apple crab crossed with a crab. So I don't know how they're going to do, but I just thought I'd throw some. I think they are. That is a Allegheny blackberry there, seedling. Another Allegheny blackberry seedling. Another poor Allegheny blackberry seedling. Just a few more plants here and then we'll be done. Got currants, gooseberries. Some roses. I'm going to throw in a rose garden. And some grapes. Let's see the cuttings that we got this year. That's one of the 3 tubs of them. So anyway, that's about it. Can't think of really anything else that's worth sharing at this time, so we'll cut it off here. And once the colors really start turning, we'll probably make a final video for this year. That's nice turning. This is a jostaberry here, and it's starting to turn woody there, so that's a good indicator that it might overwinter. We'll see. Sometimes they just die anyway. So anyway, we'll sign off with that, and hope you enjoyed our tour.